Yeah, go ahead, Chris Dorman, please.
Sure. Great God, our beloved Father, most holy, most revered, we thank you very much for the rich blessings that you constantly give us. We thank you very much for keeping us and supplying your word for our minds. And thank you for protecting us in this world as we grow as Christians. Thank you for all the physical provisions you give us. And now, as we come into this evening, we are planning a study before you, and we ask and pray for you to help us find the correct knowledge and for us to have the right understanding of it. And Father, please open our minds so we can accept it and use it and find the wisdom in it. You've given us a teacher. We thank you very much for Tagore. We thank you very much for the effort that he's put into it. And we ask that you would grant him a good measure of your Holy Spirit to guide his words and to guide the things that he says and the scriptures that he reads so we can hear them in the proper way. And we ask for your blessing on those of us who are the hearers to absorb it as well. These studies have proven to be very thorough and interesting, and we love you for giving it to us. We thank you very much for this rich blessing. So we ask your blessing on all the technology that we have here tonight and to be with each of us as we, in our own individual places, listen and absorb it. We thank you for much, very much for all of it. We praise you. We honor you. We want to honor you in all that we do. And we pray this in Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Good evening, brethren and friends. Welcome to the presentation number 26 under the 144,000 major heading. The minor heading is Israel of God sealed, number 4. And then the subtopic is Marching Israel, the camp layout. And this is beginning of the wilderness journey of Israel. So this is rich with details and so many things God begin to give us with this scriptures, with these scriptures that we would cover tonight. Those are Numbers chapter 1 and 2. So let's launch into the presentation. The Israel of God, the potter and clay, we already finished. And then the first house was marred in potter's hands. And God remakes or remade, that is newly create again, the second house in the realm of spirit, from clay. We call them track 2 Christians, which we would pick up in later presentations. And Israel after flesh, Jacob and 12 sons, the structure and features of the old house. So we covered how these 12 sons are born to Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. We went through lots of scriptures, all the events that surrounded. And then we also covered Jacob's prophetic sayings regarding his sons. So this is almost there in Egypt, and the sons have grown up and they became adults with their children and wife. And here Joseph finally meets his father, and then he calls all his 12 sons and prophesies things about each of them. And these 12 sons begin to bear more and more children. So that is at the Egypt, Joseph at the number 2 position in Egypt, and Pharaoh is very favorable for the 70 people that have come uh, into the Egypt. 70 people altogether. And then these 70 people would multiply to be more accurate. The 12 sons of Israel or Jacob, they began to procreate more and more children, and then they procreate grandchildren and then great grandchildren. And moving a little bit forward, the Pharaoh that was favorable to Israel and his sons, dies, and a new Pharaoh comes, and Joseph is also dead by this time, and he does not know or doesn't care about the history, and he begins to feel threatened because of the large growing numbers, the fast multiplication of Israel's children. So he puts them to hard tasks and repressive and oppressive methods he adopts and basically enslaves them. And then God raises Moses and he sends Moses to deliver from the children, from the Egyptians and from Pharaoh. Moses goes and confronts face to face and with outstretched arm, with heavy hand, God will redeem from the enslavement of the children of Israel and brings them out under the leadership of Moses. God is doing everything from heaven, and the visible person or the leader or king or ruler was Moses. So Moses brings them through Red Sea. It supernaturally parts out, and then they go through, and then they come into wilderness and finally reach Sinai, the mountain called Sinai. That's up to Exodus 19. So we have fast forwarded lots of things, and then they begin to wait at Sinai, and then God comes and thunders his presence on the top of the mountain, and you have fire and thunder and non-stop trumpet sounds, and children of Israel would be terrified to deal with this God. But nevertheless, God makes and enters into a covenant relationship with them, and they become covenanted people. And he becomes their covenanted God. And Moses was mediator. And then he gives his law on two tablets of stone. And then in ordinances or judgments in a scroll or a book written by ink. And then he gives further instructions, even though the Ten Commandments on two tablets of stone and the judgments in scroll, those are the primary terms and conditions of the Sinai covenant. And the covenant was sealed with blood of goats and lambs, and they suddenly become covenanted people because covenant comes into effect once it is sealed and ratified. Both parties agree and they say, we do, and God implicitly says, I do. So it's like almost like a wedding ceremony. It's like a marriage covenant. A new special relationship begins between Israel or children of Israel and God. And then God, from Exodus 19, after the covenant, he institutes tabernacle, the temple, mobile temple, and then God gives various instructions about the temple. Towards the end of the Exodus, uh, last few chapters, we see this tabernacle where God's presence was there. It was actually outside the camp of Israel. So all the Israelites were sitting in the wilderness in a very mixed way. There are no separation. Everybody, as they found the space, they laid their tent and then they were there at some place, and the tabernacle was outside the camp. And then people would go there, Moses and Aaron, his brother, to get the instructions from God or to ask specific things or specific questions to God. They will always go. At that point, the tabernacle was called the tent of dwelling because God was dwelling there in the tabernacle. Later on, when we move on to the next book, Leviticus, there is a shift in the paradigm, and this tabernacle becomes not only the tent of dwelling, it has given a new new description that it is tent of meeting. Now Israelites can go and meet God and be reconciled if they transgress or sin. And there is an interaction with God because now it has become a tent of meeting. And then God puts lots of instructions and regulations and legislations how they can approach God, how they can meet God, and what are the rules and restrictions. And since God is holy and cannot be approached by unholy men and women, so he has legislated several rules in terms of rites and rituals around the tabernacle. So we have various things, clean and unclean meats, and then you have various kinds of sacrifices in Leviticus, and then you have institution of festivals, everything geared towards tabernacle, and then you have feasts, and then it goes on with various uh, diseases, how to handle them, and then we come to the end of Leviticus, and we step into the next book that is Numbers. So once the Numbers begin, they're still at Mount Sinai and they haven't not moved. So then in Numbers, first 10 chapters, God uses those 10 chapters to give instructions to the children of Israel to prepare for the journey. It's a long journey going to last about 40 years, and they go through several turns and twists and experience several things. And this is the beginning of the wilderness journey. In fact, the whole book of Numbers, uh, it is in Hebrew, it is called in wilderness appropriately. So we are seeing the beginning of the wilderness journey, but God allocates 10 chapters for the preparation. Now God prepares and gives instructions for them how they have to camp out, how they have to surround the tabernacle. So there is tabernacle in the middle, and then God asks the whole children of Israel to separate themselves according to their tribal lines, according to their genealogies or pedigrees. So the whole layout of the camp comes from God directly. It's not the idea of man. So that is what tonight layout of the marching Israel, patterns and insights. And then we will next couple of presentations. Then we will come to Israel after spirit, and then the new Israel, the person and the features of new house and structure of the new house. And then we will wrap up the most of the 144,000 discussion, and we will briefly take up great innumerable multitude and wrap up this series. That is the plan. And so Revelation chapter 7, verses 4, uh, these are the primary verses we are studying. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000, and of all the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. So we pick up from here the 12 tribes of children of Israel were sealed. Who are these 12 tribes? We get the names actually of the tribe of Judah were sealed 12,000, and so on and so forth. We have Reuben, we have Gad, and then Asher, and Naphtali, and Manasseh, and Simeon, Levi, and Issachar, and Zebulun and Joseph were sealed 12,000, and Benjamin were sealed 12,000. So they're evenly distributed, this 12,000, and total comes to 144,000. and they were all sealed. All the 12 tribes are sealed. So these names, which we went through, those are actually sons of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. So wherever these names occur as a set in scriptures, we are going to study them and try to understand what these names mean. So the new house is very image, and while the old house was shadow. So it's the flesh Israel, this is spirit Israel, very image. And then this is first house, this is second house. So this is very image. So we already covered. I'm not going to spend much time on these things. And then first house of Israel, we went through, this is the last presentations notes. I have already attached this to the notification email, so there's no point in spending time about these things. And Chris Dorman has sent additional information based on his research, so I'm planning to put his information as well as mine into a document. So it will be a document going forward. So I will circulate the document rather than images because the information is too big. It can't fit in the tabular format. So here is the tabernacle of congregation, and here is the tabernacle. This was originally called tent of dwelling, and now it is called tent of meeting. So Israelites can meet God at the entrance. This is the east entrance of the tabernacle. So these are basic things. Outside there's a brazen altar. It is where the fire is there and the animals are sacrificed. They're killed at the base, are killed at this point, and then the blood is poured around the brazen altar, and then uh, they are burnt if there's a burnt offering. And this is brazen laver, again brass, where the priests would wash their hands and feet before starting the work of the day. And you have the actual tabernacle proper. Inside every artifact is gold. You have golden lampstand facing it, a golden table of showbread, and then there's a golden altar of incense. There is a veil, and inside this is a perfect square. Actually, it's a cube. Length, breadth, and height are exactly same, and you have a box like a box. It's called Ark of the Covenant, and then you have on top of it there is a mercy seat, and mercy seat is where God's presence dwells, where God would position himself and stands. Now, as they are beginning the wilderness journey, previously they have seen glory of God resting on top of the Mount Sinai as a big fire, and the whole mountain quaked. There were thunders and storm-like atmosphere and non-stop deafening um, trumpet sounds. Now, God, His glory, moves away from Mount Sinai. Now it comes back as pillar of cloud and pillar of fire. Pillar of cloud by day and pillar of fire by night. And He positions Himself on this mercy seat at the center. So this is the presence of awesome presence of holy God. Now we see here there are several layers to protect Israel or even non-Israelites. If anybody comes in violation of laid down legislation, he will be decimated. He will be burnt alive. A fire would come from heaven. And Israelites also have responsibility so that no stranger would approach here, and no unclean animal, even clean animals, cannot come and roam around this holy place. So this is heavily protected, God's presence, and this is an arrangement of holy God with unholy people. This is a fascinating picture. Let me present you a few layers of protecting access to this God. So this is presence of God where pillar of cloud and pillar of fire would stand there. You have two cherubims on either side facing downwards but covering with their wings. That is the first layer of protection, protecting the access to God's awesome presence. And there are two more cherubims embroidered on the inside of this veil, and those two cherubims are also protecting. So you have first layer, two cherubims, second layer, again another set of cherubim that are protecting from this people here to come here. Only Aaron is allowed, high priest, once a year on Day of Atonement to here to atone children of Israel. And then you have this whole house as another layer of protection because only the priests, sons of Aaron, are allowed. And then you have Levites are also allowed into the compound. And it's still restricted access. So you have the boundary of the tabernacle. This place is called courtyard or uh, temple courtyard or tabernacle courtyard. So this is the boundary. So this boundary protects is well protected, and anybody dares to go and trespass, they will be decimated. So God wants to protect Israel, even Israel, from decimating themselves by violating any of these boundaries. God puts layers of further layers of protected access or preventing trespassing uh, spatially towards this place of the Holy of Holies. This is called Holy of Holies, and this is called Holy Place. So this is basically basic tabernacle, and here they have just entered into covenant with God, and here they became covenanted people. And then God, wherever you have covenant in operation, there is a thing called covenant formula. Covenant formula applies, comes in three aspects or three rules, we can say. That is covenant formula. First is God says, I am your God, people. I am your God. The second rule is, you are my people. You are my people. And third is, I will dwell in the midst of you. I will dwell amid you, and the middle of you, or among you. These are the three primary factors that whenever we see covenant, those three primary factors come into force, especially the covenants between God and people. So now God promised that he would dwell with them and among them. That changes everything. That changes everything. So up to this point, up to Numbers chapter 1, first verse, uh, that was all, those were all promises. The covenant formula was a promise, and the tabernacle was always outside the camp of Israelites. Now the tabernacle moves inside the camp, or the camp goes and places itself around this tabernacle. Now we are experiencing first time God dwelling with his people literally. So this is a big shift and the first demonstration of God dwelling with his people. So with this background, we will see the camp layout and the children of Israel, how God places them, how he gives instructions, and they have to exactly camp according to the instructions God has given them. He still continues to use Moses as the chief leader or ruler, and his brother Aaron as high priest. So the high priest is the layer where they interact with God. The high priest and his sons, the priests, would mediate. They form an intermediate layer between children of Israel and God. So that was all Leviticus. He puts elaborate rules for priests. And then if we also see the Levites are put around this tabernacle to protect Israelites from dying. So that Israelites, knowingly or unknowingly, might trespass and come near the presence of God and they get killed. So he puts Levites also. So let's launch and see the Numbers chapter 1 layout of marching Israel. So this is a marching Israel, the wilderness journey. God takes good time to prepare them. So many instructions God gives to them regarding this layout and regarding the numbering. So first he asked Moses to number each of the tribes. So we are going to build something much greater later on these details. So just focus on the details what God says. So he picks up 20 years and old sons from the children of Israel. That's very important. The 20 plus 20 and above, those men or sons are able to fight the war. So they can fight the war. So they are counted. Now, a new concept of army is introduced. These are armies of Israel. So from every tribe, God asks 20 and above to be counted so that they are called armies of Israel according to the tribes. Remember, tribe is like a family. It's a larger family. It includes great grandsons, great great grandsons, and lots of great grandsons. All of them put together into a unit called tribe. But each tribe were fathered by one man. For example, tribe of Reuben. Reuben is the son of Jacob or son of Israel, and whoever Reuben gave birth to to his wife, so whoever have fathered by Reuben, they all become tribe of Reuben. So they could be great grandsons, great great grandsons, or just his sons. All of them clubbed together. It's a larger family of multi-generational people. So it's a concept is family and the lineage and the pedigree and everything boils down to who fathered them who fathered them. And then 20 plus years are selected to be part of the army because they are able to fight. So the fighting is essential to be part of this camp. And, and And we see the separation and segregation of the camp into 12 tribes. In addition to 12 tribes, 12 units, they were put together by three units. Three of the tribes would be put together and formed into one camp. So we have four camps, and four camps are distributed in four directions. You have east, west, south, and north. So you have four camps, and each camp has three tribes, and they circle around the whole tabernacle. And let's see what God asks Moses to do the numbering. And Numbers chapter 1, verse 1. And the Lord spoke unto Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, in the tabernacle of the congregation, on the first day of the second month, in the second year, after they were come out of the land of Egypt. It's almost the second year plus, since they came out of Egypt. And take you the sum of all the congregation of the children of Israel after their families. So very important, families by the house of their fathers with the number of their names, every male by their poles. The word Hebrew word is like skull or head. So figuratively, by head count, you count all the heads, which we use it today also, the head count. So you number people who are 20 years or old. We will see that shortly. Verse 3, from 20 years old and upward, and all that can go forth to war in Israel. You and Aaron shall number them by their armies. So the word armies were introduced to us in with respect to the camp and their journeys through wilderness. And with you there shall be a man of every tribe and every head of the house of his fathers. Now, we will get 12 divisions or 12 groups based on their tribal lineages, but God also wants to pick up a leader, a prominent person from each of the tribes. So Moses and Aaron would pick up 12 individuals. Initially, the 12 patriarchs were functioning as the leaders of the tribes, but they became old and they died. Reuben, Judah, they're all died. Now you have their great, great, great grandchildren, and now somebody has to uh, take their place. So God always puts 12 leaders for 12 tribes. This is the pattern He is introducing. So you have to select the leaders also. God will guide them and give instructions. So far we are seeing 12 tribes and 12 leaders and 20 and above as part of the army who can fight the war, and they are numbered. So here we have variable numbers for the different tribes. So they're not same, they're different numbers. Something which I want you to remember. Verse 5, and these are the names of the men that shall stand with you. Of the tribe of Reuben, Elizur, the son of Shadur. So God is picking them, picking the leader first. So you have Elizur, which means, see the name, meaning of the names. They're also pretty interesting. My God is rock. And the son of Shadur, the daughter of light. So these are very New Testament concepts, these words, these mean. Of Simeon, Shelumiel, that is friend of God, and son of Zurishaddai, that means my rock is almighty. Of Judah, each of the tribes, Nation is the leader. Nation is the leader, or prince, who is son of Aminadab. My kinsman is noble. I don't know why enchanter. It sounds little negative. Of Issachar, Nathaniel, the given of God, the son of Zuar, littleness. Of Zebulun, Eliab, my God is father is the meaning of Eliab, and the son who is the son of Helon, that is strength. Verse 10 of the children of Joseph of Ephraim. So now Joseph is divided into two names, Ephraim and Manasseh. Ephraim, is their prince or leader is Elishama, which means my God has heard, who is the son of Amihud. My kinsman is majesty. And of Manasseh, Gamaliel. So Gamaliel is their prince, which means reward of God. The son of Pedazur means the rock has ransomed. See, these are not by accident. Something is being embedded. Something is being built with a pattern in mind. Verse 11 of Benjamin, Abidan, that is, my father is judge, and the son of Gideoni is my hewer. Of Dan, Ahiezer, that is, my brother is help. The son of Ammishaddai, that means my kinsman is Almighty. Of Asher, the prince would be Pagiel. Pagiel is event of God, who is son of Okran. Okran is troubled. Of Gad, Eliasaph, that is, God has added, and the son of Deuel, they knew God. And Naphtali, you have Ahira as their prince, that which means my brother is evil. The son of Enan, Enan means having eyes. What does that mean? It's very strange. And these, now we have come to conclusion of all the 12 tribes and their princes. And these were renowned, everybody knows them, of the congregation and princes of the tribes of their fathers. So they're prince for each of the tribes and heads of thousands in Israel. So they are the leaders, they are the movers and shakers. For some reason, God has some rudimentary leadership for each of the tribe, each of the 12 units. And then, and Moses and Aaron took these men which are expressed by their names. So here scripture also saying which are expressed by their names. So their names and the meaning of their names are important and they are built in into the pattern. Verse 18, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees. See, everyone, all the 12 princes of Israel, they declared their pedigrees. They could narrate son of, son of, son of, each one tracing back to one of the 12 sons of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. So they could prove their pedigrees. And pedigree is very important, your physical lineage, after their families, by the house of their fathers, according to the number of their names, from 20 years old and upward, and by their polls, that is, head count. So not only these princes could relate to the ancestors, the 12 sons of Jacob, but each of the 20 plus years old, the tribal young men or tribal men who are able to fight the war, they also have to prove, at least give an attestation and testimony that they belong to so and so tribe. So it is there, everything is made sure that there is no mistake. They separate themselves based on their pedigree and their ancestor and the tribal lineage. First time the separation and segregation into 12 compartments, we see that. Prior to that, they were all mixed up, mix and match. And the Lord commanded Moses, and so he numbered them in the wilderness of Sinai. So we see the numbering of each of the tribe, and uh, and the children of Reuben, Israel's eldest son, by their generations, after their families, by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names, by their polls, that is head count, every male from 20 years old and upward, all that were able to go forth to war. And then I'm going back to from verse 20 to verse 44, because they give the final numbers of each of the tribe, each of the camp, but we are from verse 44, those numbers are repeated again. So I just skip those verses. We will start from verse 44. And these are those that were numbered, which Moses and Aaron numbered, and the princes of Israel being 12 men. So the princes of Israel, 12 men. From there, you have 12 groups. Each was for the house of his fathers. So everything is fathered. Who fathered whom? Who fathered whom? That is the fundamental paradigm for the separation and establishment of each of the camps. Verse 45, so were all those that were numbered of the children of Israel by the house of their fathers, from 20 years old and upward, all that were able to go forth to war in Israel. Even all they that were numbered were 600,000 and 3,550. So this is the final number. This is not the total number of Israelites. It's only 20 and above who are able to go and fight the war. So you have close to 600,000, 600,000 army, total army. Now we will see each of the tribe is counted, and but the Levites, after the tribe of their fathers, were not numbered among them. So the Levites were out, and Joseph is split into Ephraim and Manasseh. So the 12 count is always maintained for some reason. So the name mangling occurs throughout the Bible. These 12 names uh, loosely would occur about 20 places in Bible, at 20 places. And each time the order is changed. It is mangled. And sometimes a tribe is removed, sometimes a tribe is added. But most of the times, the 12 count is maintained, the total count. Sometimes Judah is removed, sometimes Judah is added, sometimes Levi is removed, sometimes Levi is added. In the Revelation chapter 7, we see Dan is removed, but others were used. But there seem to be 12, the total 12 divisions, 12 groups are necessary for this pattern that God is establishing in this shadow. So the Levi is out here for the camp layout, and for the Lord had spoken unto Moses, saying, only you shall not number the tribe of Levi, neither take the sum of them among the children of Israel. So they're out. And God tells the reason. But you shall appoint the Levites over the tabernacle of the testimony, over all the vessels thereof. So, all the furnitures, vessels, utensils that are used inside the tabernacle, including the tabernacle itself, it has to be maintained, has to be carried out during the journeys by Levites. That's why Levites were not part of the army which would fight. They are separated from the rest of the groups in order to serve God and serve tabernacle in much closer to Him, but additional responsibility, a greater responsibility is bestowed on them. A greater honor is also given to them because they are carrying the tabernacle. It is their responsibility to dismantle the tabernacle and carry the parts while the camp journeys through wilderness. And once camp halts, it is responsibility of Levites to put the things back. And then the priests, those are sons of Aaron, will come and do the tabernacle functional aspects, that is, sacrifices and trimming of lamps and burning incense. So that will be carried out by the priests who are sons of Aaron. But the Levites also have a special responsibility, full dedication to the tabernacle throughout the wilderness journeys. They shall bear the tabernacle and all the vessels thereof, and they shall minister unto it. or serve unto it, and shall encamp around the tabernacle. Here God tells they should encamp. They form a ribbon around tabernacle to protect Israelites coming towards nearer to God. And verse 51, and when the tabernacle is set forward, the Levites shall take it down. And when the tabernacle is to be pitched, the Levites shall set it up. And the stranger that comes nigh or near shall be put to death. So there's an explicit instructions. No stranger should approach near the tabernacle. And the children of Israel shall pitch their tents, every man by his own camp, and every man by his own standard throughout their hosts. Now, children of Israel were told to organize by camps, by groups, according to their tribal lineage. And they carry their own standard or a banner, every tribe. But the Levites shall pitch around the tabernacle of testimony, that there be no wrath upon the congregation of children of Israel. And the Levites shall keep the charge of the tabernacle of testimony. So Levites are given additional responsibility to guard the tabernacle, any access to the tabernacle, to prevent Israelites ever approaching the tabernacle, or any stranger, or any unclean animal, or even clean animals. So the Levites have additional responsibility of guarding the tabernacle. And the children of Israel did according to all that the Lord commanded Moses, and so they did. Here we see the Levites surrounding the tabernacle. Here is the tabernacle. And then these are three sons of Levi. Levi has three sons, Merari and Gershon and Kohath. These are the three sons, and all their descendants are formed into camps. So they all pitch their tents around it. And then on the east side, this is east, Moses and Aaron and their sons will camp there, and their families are camping there. So you have a tight ribbon around the tabernacle, and we find these uh, details of Gershonites and Merarites and Kohathites in the subsequent chapters of Numbers, which we are not covering. But this is for future reference. I could have put just Levites as one ribbon. So this is Levites around the tabernacle. Now we have a layer of protecting access to holy God. So this is additional layer. And then we will see one more layer, that is children of Israel. Numbers chapter 2, we will continue. And the Lord spoke unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, every man of the children of Israel shall pitch by his own standard or a banner with the ensign of their father's house. The ensign, it's kind of, some Bible scholars think they have a sign also, perhaps an animal, something like that. And also they write in Paleo Hebrew the name of their tribe. So they put a banner or a flag. We were not entirely sure how this ensign would work, but there's a sign, and it is different for different tribes. So just looking at this sign, you should be able to tell, oh, this must be Judah, or this must be Issachar. So that kind of thing, God is instructing them to put. So you have a sign or a flag, and then you have a prince of that tribe, and behind him the whole tribe, that is 20 and above, the army would camp, and perhaps behind them the woman and children below 20. So they would not, I don't believe that they are outside the camp, they are inside the camp, but they are behind the sons, the armies of each tribe. But here is the sentence, far off about the tabernacle of congregation shall they pitch. They shouldn't pitch too close to the tabernacle or even too close to the Levitical ribbon around tabernacle. They should go as far as at a safe distance so that their children would not run to and fro and somehow come near and touch the tabernacle. So that is the worst thing that can happen because God commanded that they should be killed if anybody comes near and touches. So safe distance, the whole camp of Israelites were 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 pitched. And on the east side, now God gives specific instructions which tribe would go to east and which would go to west, north, and south. So he combines three tribes into one camp. This is very important. On the east side, now we are talking about right hand side, east side towards the rising of the sun, shall they of the standard of the camp of Judah. So there's a camp of Judah God is introducing, pitch through their armies. And Nashon, the son of Aminadab, shall be captain of children of Judah. Now he was called princes. He was called a renowned person in the camp. Now he's called the captain. So this person who is whoever is designated, one person from each tribe is a captain. So you have an army vocabulary being introduced, and a captain and his army of 20 plus years old, and then you have women and children. That's the pattern we see. On the east side is Judah first, and then they counted, and his host, those that were numbered of them were threescore 14,600. So Judah is 74,600. So that is the number of the 20 plus year old army. They are not counting women and children. Verse 5, and those that do pitch next unto him shall be the tribe of Issachar, and Nathaniel, the son of Zuar, shall be the captain of the children of Issachar. Here I want to notice these are modern translations. They put children of Israel. Technically, literally, they are sons of Israel. All through, the sons of Israel. And his host and those that were numbered thereof were 50 and 4,400. So we have second tribe, Issachar, combined with Judah. And then the third tribe, Zebulun. Eliab, the son of Helon, shall be captain of the children of Zebulun. So, and his host and those were numbered that were numbered thereof were 57,400. That is Zebulun. And they have to camp on the east side. All that were numbered in the camp of Judah, it's called camp of Judah, were 100,000, fourscore thousand, and 6,400 throughout their armies. So now we have total number 186,400 is entire camp of Judah. Remember, camp of Judah is different from Judah. Camp of Judah is all the three tribes together. Issachar, Zebulun, and Judah. Now they are combinedly called camp of Judah. And these shall first set forth. So they have to set their tents first. And they are the ones who would also dismantle their tents and ready to move. In fact, later on we find Judah is the leading tribe. Judah moves first. When the pillar of cloud and pillar of fire would raise up and they will blow the silver trumpets, everybody pack up and get ready and move, and the pillar of cloud would lead the way. So they would follow, and the first tribe that would follow the pillar of cloud and pillar of fire would be Judah, and rest of the tribes would follow them. So we have now on the east side camp of Judah, and Judah is the leading tribe. So I have placed them in the middle, and then you have Zebulun and Issachar, And in front of them, you have a tent of their leaders. Princes are captains. We will call them captains. So there are three captains, three tribes, and the camp of Judah that is on the east side. So we will continue. We will finish the all the four sides, 12 tribes. On the south side shall be the standard of camp of Reuben according to their armies, and the captain of the children of Reuben shall be Elizur, the son of Shedeur, and his host, and those that were numbered thereof were 46,500. So Reuben is were given a number, and those which pitch by him shall be tribe of Simeon, and the captain of the children of Simeon shall be Shelumiel, the son of Zurishaddai, and his host, and those that were numbered of them were 59,300. So Simeon is 59,300. And then the tribe of Gad, the captain of the sons of Gad, shall be Eliasaph, the son of Ruel. And his host and those that were numbered of them were 45,650. So Gad is that number, 45,650. We will. So here I've added on the south side, you have camp of Reuben, and you have four tribes, three tribes, and I've put Reuben in the middle because that is the leading tribe. So the whole three together are, and you have in front of them their captains. So you have captains and the tribes and the whole camp. So we have covered east side, and now this is south side, and we will come to west. God seems to follow this order. And all that were numbered in the camp of Reuben were 100,050 and 1,450 throughout their armies. So camp of Reuben total is 151,450, and they shall set forth in the second rank. And Numbers 2, verse 17, then the tabernacle of the congregation shall set forward with the camp of the Levites amid the camp. As they encamp, so shall they set forward every man in his place by their standards. So Levites should direct every tribe, every man, which places they should pitch their camps. So the overall supervision and overseeing responsibility is given to Levites, how the camps sit and at a safe distance from them, away from camp for their own good. Now we will come to the west side, on the left hand side. On the west side shall be the standard of the camp of Ephraim according to their armies. And the captain of the sons of Ephraim shall be Elishama, the son of Amihud, and his host, and those that were numbered of them were 40,500. So that is Ephraim, camp of Ephraim. And by him shall there be tribe of Manasseh, and the captain of the children of Manasseh shall be Gamaliel, the son of Pedahsur, and his host, and those that were numbered of them were 32,200. So that's Manasseh. And then the tribe of Benjamin, the captain of the sons of Benjamin shall be Abidah, the son of Gideoni. So, and the hosts of those that were numbered of them were 35,400, and the total count camp of Ephraim is 108 100. And now we have on the left hand side, on the west side, you have camp of Ephraim, Ephraim in the middle, the leading tribe, and Manasseh and Benjamin with their counts and their captains in the front. And the last standard, the standard of the camp of Dan shall be on the north side by their armies, and the captain of the children of Dan shall be Ahiezer, the son of Amishadai. So, and his host and those that were numbered of them were threescore and 2,700. Dan, and those that encamp by him shall be the tribe of Asher, and the captain of the children of Asher. Their captain would be Pagiel, the son of Okran, and his host, and those that were numbered of them, they were 40 and 1,500. Then the tribe of Naphtali, and the captain of the children of Naphtali shall be Ahira, the son of Enan. And his host and those that were numbered of them were 53,400 Naphtali. And the total count, camp of Dan, is 157,600. And now we come to the total Israel. The total camp of Israel is 603, 550, about 600,000. That's a huge number of the army of the camp of Israel. But the Levites were not numbered among the children of Israel, as the Lord commanded Moses. So we finished the camp of Dan. We have all the tribes around, and there's a ribbon of Levites, and you have the tabernacle. And this is the grand picture of the camp. And here, remember, in the Holy of Holies, on the Ark of the Covenant, you have the mercy seat where the pillar of cloud and pillar of fire that will position itself. So this is the very presence of God. This is ground zero. Now we have to make some additions to this diagram, which I have missed. So the layout of Let's continue. Verse 34. And the children of Israel did according to all that the Lord commanded Moses. So they pitched by their standards. So they set forward, everyone after their families, according to the house of their fathers. So this is the thing. Additionally, is everybody has a banner, a standard in front of them. So I have added standards, and then this is the total count. And I have also added count for each of the camp. So Ephraim is 108, 100. So all the camps I have added few details, and also I have added the compass. So this is east. On the east is camp of Judah. On the south is camp of Reuben. And then you have on the west camp of Ephraim, and camp of Dan is on the north. So we need a compass. So this is the picture, and there are various additional informations Bible students and scholars have come up. It's mostly an interpretation. They're not directly listed or directly stated in Bible, but they're indirectly hinted. So people pick up hints and come up with additional information. So I will just add for the information only. So these are 12 tribes of Israel. They are also depicted in the sky, in this space. Some people call it zodiac, that is the modern name for the constellations. And Israel was called heaven. Israel was also called 12 stars of heaven. Each of the tribe is 12 stars. For example, Joseph dreamed a dream where the 11 stars will bow to him. That is, 11 of his brothers would bow to him. So 11 stars. So the stars, people would study these things and come up with that. So they have 12 stars. The 12 stars in the uh, are groups of stars. It's not really a star in the modern scientific sense, but you have groups of stars. There are 12. It is called Pleiades. Pleiades. So these 12 stars are believed to be representing 12 tribes of Israel. So they come up with Issachar, the Cancer, and Judah is Leo. Leo is lion, and Zebulun is Virgo. It's like virgin. And and you have Simeon, Reuben, and Gad are given pieces, man, Aries, and then you have Benjamin is Gemini, and Ephraim and Manasseh, they're together put into one star, Taurus, and then camp of Dan, you have Sagittarius and Scorpio and Eagle for Dan, and Capricornus for Naphtali. So you have all these additions for further uh, thing, and this is how God envisioned that all the children of Israel, all the sons of Israel, have to camp out around Him, around Him, His presence. He wants His people to form a spacious spatial layout that He desired and He instructed and He legislated, that the arrangement has to come from Him. And so the children of Israel did, according to commandments coming from Moses and Aaron. They supervised, and also the Levites supervised. Make sure the children of Israel set their camps like this. Now we can discuss several things. Very interesting, this diagram. And let me take few minutes to see. Here you find a perfect square. Perfect square. Three of the tribes are clubbed into one camp. Now we have four camps on four sides. So it's a perfect square. You have four camps on four square on four sides. So these are four fours, and each one is three. 4 by 3. We come up with total of 12. 12. And then you have you have a picture where everybody is equally distanced from the presence of God. That means they have equal access to the presence of God. There's no discrimination. There's no one tribe having greater access than other tribe. Even though Levites were taken out and were given a special responsibility, that's a special case. But all the Israelites, along with their tribes and camps, have equal access. And they also have access from every side, from east, west, south, north. So God is equally accessible in whichever direction you are with respect to Him. Additionally, you have this picture maintained throughout the camping of the Israelites for next 40 years through the wilderness. So the wilderness is outside of the camp, is all wilderness, inhospitable. It's very inhospitable, and they have snakes, scorpions, and wild animals. You know what else? There are dangers everywhere outside, but you have a protection inside this camp. This camp is now perceived and understood as the extension of God Himself over His people. It's almost described by Bible teachers as God extending His wings as a canopy covering all these tribes, because He is in the middle of them and He is with them. They are His people. He is their God, and I am in the midst of them. I am now accessible equally to all of them. They are under my protection, my canopy, and my wings. That's another thought about this. And now God introduces in the later chapters of Numbers. Now this is a holy camp, because He is a holy God. They become a people holy. That's why it begins to describe them as holy nation, holy nation. and kingdom of priests. Now, this concept extends beyond the camp of Israel. They are priests to the entire world. All other nations have to look at the glory, their glory, and want to become like them. So they have a priestly function when God calls them the holy nation and kingdom of priests. And you are a peculiar treasure, folks. You are a treasure, a peculiar treasure to me. And you are chosen people. I have chosen you. All of you are chosen people. And now all these thoughts would demand certain rules and restrictions for the holiness. Now God introduces concept of defilement. People who contracted leprosy, they are not allowed to stay inside the camp. They have to step outside the camp. People who have discharges, and I believe the women who have periods, they also need to stay outside the camp until they are good. They can come back. So the holiness has to be preserved within the camp. Camp is a special place, is the holy armies, even the armies of God. And God calls himself by this title, Lord of Sabbath. That means Lord of armies. Now here God is their king, is an invisible king, and they are his armies. So it is a moving army. It's a moving kingdom, and it's a moving city, city of God. And it is a beautiful, wonderful picture that God envisioned for this camp. God looks differently at this camp than the other nations because they lacked understanding. But the people inside the camp, unfortunately, also did not realize how precious, how great this camp is in the sight of God. They often complained during the wilderness journey, looking at Moabites, looking at other kingdoms, how they are able to eat good food. Now we are locked in this wilderness. They constantly complained and rebelled. Now, the 40 years journey also brings us to have a different look at this camp. We see the we see the children of Israel rebelled against God in several ways, and God decimated many of them. And finally, 40 and below, you're not going to make it into the promised land. So there's the first rebellion at the outer layer, children of Israel, and they perished. And people who are young, the next generation, actually continued the journey. So the camp remained same. The idea, concept remained same, but people who rebelled perished for the camp's outer layer. Then come here to the inner layer, and the Levites, they also rebelled at some point. We are also Levites. We can also take up censer challenging the authority of Aaron, and they were decimated. Like Abiram, uh, you have Dathan, earth opens up and swallows them. So some of them are judged, but who are faithful, they continued. They continued. And then finally, Moses and Aaron, at last of them, they also rebel. Moses strikes the rock twice and he was judged. And along with him, his brother Aaron was also judged. God said, you are also not making into the promised land. And and Joshua takes over the baton. But the camp, the beautiful picture that God gives us remains same. It serves as a foundation for several new concepts, new constructs, much complex constructs would come through the pages of Bible as we move forward, but this serves as a foundation, as a template where we see God dwells with his people, where God calls them, "You are my people." And God calls himself, "I am your God." It's a covenanted people dwelling together in a beautiful, blissful existence. They complained about the things that they missed and the toys they lacked compared to the other nations. But they've forgotten the fundamental thing, that is, God is with them. They have full, equal access to Him. If God is with you, what are those toys meant anything? They are nothing. God can provide anything and everything to you. People, you are now His people. You have a covenant relationship. And God also sees them and Himself as His wife. Now we are talking about a husband with his wife. That is the picture of covenant. So God with his wife. This is a beautiful picture of the outcome of Sinai. So God envisions his wife to dwell with him always, sharing his glory, sharing every blessing from him. Even though there will be initial testing and trying in the wilderness, but he unleashes abundance on every side, comfort, blessings, abundance, no sword, lack nothing. That is the God we are looking and serving. So Israelites have much more than they realized. The very presence of God with them. Even though they often complain and often rebelled, and every layer that has rebelled or were judged, but those who have not rebelled, they continued to be part of this beautiful, wondrous picture. And I want to close this with how God looked at this camp. When Balaam, hired by Balaam, the foreign king, Moabite, he always insisted that what is the blessing of these people? It should be their God. So since we cannot fight against these people and win, only way we can defeat them is make them rebel against their God, make them curse their God, or do something. So he catches hold of the prophet Balaam and asks him to curse Israel. And he tries and he could not open his mouth. The words would not come out to curse Israel. God stops him. And finally, the madness of the prophet is restored, and God sends his Holy Spirit on Balaam. And Balaam falls and goes into a trance, and the Holy Spirit opens his eyes. And now he begins to see something between the mountains. He sees this camp of Israel, beautiful. And God describes in his own words how he would see this camp. Let's go to Numbers 24. Let's see a few passages to close. Numbers 24, verse 1. When Balaam saw that it pleased the Lord to bless Israel instead of cursing, he went not, as at other times, to seek for enchantments, but he set his face toward the wilderness. So, this is the camp in wilderness. And Balaam lifted up his eyes, and he saw Israel abiding in his tents, according to their tribes. This is the pattern. This is the picture that Balaam is now was led to see this. And the Spirit of God came upon him. See, here is a shift. Here it is a shift. And verse 3, and he took up his parable and said, Balaam, the son of Beor, has said, and the man whose eyes are opened has said. Now he was given spiritual eyes to see the glory and beauty of people dwelling with God in a covenantal marriage relationship. And he has said, which heard the words of God. He has both audio as well as video, which saw the vision of the Almighty, falling into a trance, but having his eyes open. This is very typical of the prophets. Verse 5, how goodly are your tents. Now God is speaking, God is taking control, and He's describing the whole arrangement that we are seeing. How goodly are your tents, O Jacob, and your tabernacles are dwellings, O Israel. God says everything is good, so good. As the valleys are they spread forth, as a valley, even though the picture is wilderness currently, but God sees the future and describes future as though it is present, as the valleys that they are spread forth, as gardens by the riverside, as the trees of line aloes, which the Lord has planted, and the cedar trees beside the waters. Do you see where else do you see this description? Garden of Eden. Garden of Eden. The garden which God has planted and placed the mankind. Ever since our first parents rebelled, they were driven out. Now we are seeing the picture of being restored. Restored to the garden, restored to the valleys, restored to the riverside. Wow! God is seeing the Eden back. Continuing verse 7, he shall pour out water out of his buckets. So it's a figure of speech for blessings. And his seed shall be in many waters. So will multiply. And his king shall be higher than Agag. Agag is a foreign king, which Israelites always looked up to. And his kingdom shall be exalted. So he's king. His king is in the midst there as a pillar of cloud and pillar of fire. Verse 8, God brought him forth out of Egypt. So this whole people were brought out from house of Egypt or house of bondage. He has it as it were the strength of a unicorn. You are like a strong bull. They are strong people. He shall eat up the nations, his enemies. He will decimate his enemies because God is with them and shall break their bones and pierce them through his arrows, not because of the military technology or the number of armies. It is because God is with them. He couched and lay down as a lion, as a fierce lion, and as a great lion. Who shall stir him up? Blessed is he that blesses you, and cursed is he that curses you. These are words of God, not my words. What a beautiful camp. How much more can we talk about this? This is endless. You can glean more and more, perhaps in the discussion session. But we see the 12 names that were given, they were sealed in the book of Revelation. But the 12 names we also saw as an incredibly glorious camp of the 12 tribes and four camps. In the midst of them is Almighty God, which I believe was pre-incarnate Word. End of presentation. Thank you for watching. And now we will open the room for your feedback and your discussions. May God abundantly bless you. May God give you full insight into understanding His word, and 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 may God help you to overcome every rebellion and every evil, so that Instead of being judged, you would be abundantly blessed with His presence so that you would be His people. He will be your God and He will dwell among you. Let God dwell among us. Thank you for your attention. Yes, Ken, go ahead.
Thank you, Tagore. That was extremely educating. And the one thing I thought about early on in your talking is the numbering in the book of Revelations. I just wondered if you would like to address that. I know it's probably premature, but that's got to enter into it. The uh, un, innumerable multitude, which no man could number.
Can you come again? Are we talking about innumerable great multitude in Revelation?
Yes.
Yeah, we will come touch that in future presentations.
Okay.
Uh,
I figured you would say that.
no, I'm going slow, but the 144,000 is a metaphorical number. I don't believe they're literal numbers.
Well,
So,
it talks about a great multitude which no man can number. That's the one I was talking about.
yeah, they go through great tribulation because their robes were made white. They made robes white. That's a that's a figure of speech expression for people going through tribulation. But 144,000, there seemed to be, again, seemed to be, they were given white robes. They did not make their robes white. So it's a broad assumption that they would be spared from great tribulation, while the multitude would go through great tribulation. But the end result is same. Both of them would be in first resurrection. That's my understanding.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Go ahead, Marlene.
Yes, a wonderful message. Seemed like you really brought out the reality of God with us going through this and how he looks at us, your description in Numbers 24. I thought that it was just like, wow, this really struck me tonight. And then just trying to really grasp what we've been offered and the value of what we have and not be like the Israelites that, didn't really understand what the riches they had, wanting a man king instead of God as their king. There's just brought it together nicely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Glad to hear that you like the presentation and see that it benefited you, if I'm reading correctly. But appreciate your feedback. Let's go to Tom.
Good evening, Tagore. I was pondering on how they put all the tribes together. There must have been some intermarriage between the various tribes prior to this, and because they were living pretty much together, all mixed in. So, do you have any thoughts on how they went about setting them up as far as how they fit into each one of the areas? I mean, because of the different tribes they came from and all the intermarriages they were doing, I can think that it'd be quite difficult to get them all divided up again.
That's
Can
a
you some thought?
Yeah, that's that's an interesting question. We can remember maybe 3 or 4 generations before. Prior to that, we don't know who our great 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 grandmother or great mother or father were. Nobody knows beyond 3 or 4 generations, and they have to go like several generations in the Egypt. So there should be some way they can figure that out. Maybe fathers keep telling their children that we come from this tribe, this tribe. So they should have knowledge of their history, and not only history as a nation, but history as each of the tribes. And also, I believe God helped them to trace back their lineage. Uh, Otherwise, without God's help, I think they don't have any genetics or gene technology to trace back. So it's a work of uh, God also, because He's the one who is orchestrating and building these things. So I strongly believe God is kept them separate, perhaps from intermarrying also from one another. So there's a tribal purity is maintained. Uh, those are my thoughts. If somebody else has other insight, we will welcome. Yes, Chris Dorman, please go ahead.
Sure. Thank you. And Tagore, thanks very much again. Great, great study. Lots of work put in here. Really appreciate the meticulous outline you gave us here. Good stuff. Good starting point for the rest of us to keep going. To address Tom's question, a thought occurred to me that, they're pretty boxed in, and the original number 603, approximately 603,000. We know that they were only there for 40 years, so that would reflect maybe two generations, compressed for 20 or 30 years. So people were dying and being born, but I don't think they were bringing in any foreign people from the surrounding areas. I think that's probably listed someplace. I don't know exactly where, but I was also thinking that, what you're describing here as on a whole is really a small city. With that many people, it's going to take up around 150 square acres. That's a pretty good size footprint, just
Mhm.
logistically.
Yeah.
Not to mention that God gave them some pretty extreme rules around, health and food and water and hygiene. And, anybody with any illness had to go outside the camp. They had to be seen by the priest, and then they either had to go outside the camp or stay in their dwelling, and they were, quarantined for 7 days until they could be cleansed. But then I'm also thinking that the surrounding areas probably weren't that rough because that's where their animals would have been. There were thousands of animals with them, as well as their fresh water sources and their dumps, where they took their trash, etc. And of course, then there were probably other people in the surrounding areas, around them. Not to mention the fact that you got around 22,000 Levites at the very center, doing the animal sacrifices and making the offerings, etc. So this is a really busy small city. Just, just the grand picture of it, I can see why people would be a little bit intimidated. Maybe not a little, maybe a lot. So yeah, those were my thoughts. Thanks.
That's true. Nobody has seen this kind of walk in the wilderness, marching in wilderness. It's a brand new for them. And other nations were also watching that surprising thing. They were also astonished. And nothing can stop this camp. No physical barrier, no military barrier. They would they would powder any of the enemies that would challenge them. It's a moving, massive army and undefeatable. And but unfortunately, they are human, and they were given only one kind of food for all 40 years. That's manna. And what one point they said they loathed this manna. And then the water was also very restricted kind of thing. They were tested again and again. And then one time it is out of rock, other time it is uh, from wells. Other times it is a river. Sometimes the water is there, but it is bitter. And they were tested waters of Mariba, where the waters were bitter. So you have all kinds of trying and testing and proving through the wilderness journey. And it's a process of refinement. They are being refined. And rebellious people were judged, while the faithful were made more faithful. We can talk endlessly about wilderness journeys. Even with this picture that we touched, like I just touched very few points, very high level. We can talk a lot about that. But yeah, that's a good topic you raised, Chris. Yeah, Marlene, let's go.
You're talking about the mixing of the Israelites, the tribes. Were you talking about that then before the tabernacle was made? And then obviously when the tabernacle was made, then people were set according to their tribes. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, during the Egyptian slavery years, who knows what could have happened if everybody forgot about their tribal lineages and everybody intermarried. It's hard to trace back and separate into tribes. So there is supernatural divine providence. At least some tribal identity is maintained, that separation before the tabernacle is introduced, before they came to Sinai. So they have spent quite a few generations under slavery in Egypt. So at that point, in those years, there could have been potentially a mixture, but that did not happen because they are able to separate quickly. That's what I was referring to.
Yeah, I can see them, coming from where they were to Egypt when Joseph was there. I mean, I always had the impression that they were still with their own tribe, and then of course they grew, from 70 to several million. Yeah, so it's interesting to think about that. What's interesting, Chris was talking about this huge city that's moving, and yet Second Chronicles says that God kept the other nations who were larger than them. You were small, and I protected you. And I said, nobody's going to touch my anointed. So you think of the largeness and the um, number of people that, are in all these nations. I mean, it's like it's hard to fathom those things. And, even when they talk about all the sacrifices of the animals, 100,000 or 30,000 or whatever they're doing, it's like, that's a lot, compared to how we look at things today.
Yeah, that's true. Eh, They probably multiplied in even in 40 years in the wilderness, and more babies born, and they're probably much larger when they were about to cross Jordan into the promised land. So God supernaturally blessed them even in Egypt in multiplying and then through the wilderness journey. And their shoes did not wear off, their clothes did not stink, their hair was not damaged in the 130 degrees in the daytime and somewhat around 20 to 30 in the nights. It's a supernatural things you cannot logically explain about God's providence on this camp. There's so many things. You're right, it's a moving city. And some people call it a paradise on earth. And Thank you, first Miss D. I feel so fortunate to see this work presented. Thank you, Miss D, for the good words, nice words. And Chris, let me enlarge this, what you pasted to me. Wow, okay.
One is a picture of the wilderness area, right there at the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea.
Hmm.
And it's not really a great big area, come to think of it, in terms of land mass. And the other picture was just a neat depiction of the temple or the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, and then, the lavers in the courtyard, and then the holy place or the tent of meeting or the tabernacle itself. It's just it was. I've been trying to find a good depiction, and that seemed to make the most sense with the high priest standing there. Anyway, just a picture.
Thank you. The visuals always help us. Uh, Gailin, please go ahead.
Um, Hi. Thank you so much for the presentation, Tigor. And it's really, um, I'm excited to again refresh. There was a point another group presented the same thing. And there was this picture that they showed, and the way they presented it, that Balaam, when he went up the mountain, he could see a sign. And they were saying that um, maybe it's true, I don't know, but it looked like a cross from a top view. If you were like on a drone and look down, it would look like a cross. So in that, like, if that was true, then it's also like the symbol of what is to come. So that was one thing, like, wow, he, here, there's already a symbol, because um having the background of an artist, and most those who paint, you just don't paint. Well, usually you have a concept and a symbol you want to convey. And if that was like Balaam would go up and other spies would go up and see how the Israelites were marching as an army, and yet there was this symbol being shown. So that was just like amazing for me to just imagine how um they're walking in a synchronized way in a formation, and you said the center is like a square. And if they were all squares and you put them north, south, east, west, and it would look like a cross. So thank you.
You're welcome. I don't know about cross. If they look more like a square to me, as you mentioned. The series of ribbons around, and the main innermost square is Ark of the Covenant, that box, which is not kind of square, but the concept, the Holy of Holies at least is square as well as cube, where God's
Mm-hmm.
presence is there. So every outer layer eventually becomes like square.
Mm, okay.
Cross is more like a T shape, right?
This other cross was all equal portions,
Okay.
not the T. Like there's some, as you said, in the east is a group, and it was named uh, Judah, and then south is another three groups or two,
Reuben,
Reuben. So
camp of Reuben.
and yeah, so even in the West, they would be separate from each other when were traveling. So, but in the center is always where the Levites are.
That's true. While they were camping, I believe the eastern edge, camp of Judah, and south, camp of Reuben, they would touch each other at the corner because they have to protect from any
True.
unclean animals.
Mm-hmm.
So, a diagram, I did not present them as touching. It's a tight layers, tight ribbons.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Same with Levites. It's a tight ribbon, it's a closed ribbon.
Yeah, that would be true when they're on camp.
Yeah.
But when they're moving, maybe that's harder to do, but easier if you were like a cross or something. Any
Moving,
case,
yeah.
whichever uh they were people around them were very scared because I remember in Jericho they were saying, oh, their God is different, and they were saved by their God, and they knew it even in Jericho.
Yeah, Rahab tells that to spies. We knew that God is with you. Nobody can
Yeah,
stop you. Yeah, moving camp is quite different from the stationary camp. Uh, Moving camp has a different dynamics. So while they were moving, no doubt they would obey the commands of Moses and Aaron, and everybody would look to the pillar of cloud and pillar of fire by night. That is their compass. Everybody follow that. But I believe they move in a line like a big caravan and tabernacle in a dismantled position. So it is dismantled and all the parts were carried out by Levites and Moses and Aaron and priests, their children, their sons, everybody is moving. I believe they have to move in a line, in a caravan, because the passage would be a narrow passage, and the Judah would be following and leading the whole caravan, and they would be looking at the pillar of cloud and pillar of fire. And it's not always in the daytime. The the movement travel could last nights as well as days. So it could be night. It doesn't make difference for this army of God to move. It moves as swiftly as it would move in the day. Both night as well as day is same because they are same to God. And they were not given advanced information how long they would be traveling and in which direction they would be traveling, or if they camp out, they were not told how long they would be camping at that place. There are several unknowns through the wilderness journey, and they have to just follow that big huge pillar.
Yeah, and I wondered how long they had when they were warned that we're going to be moving, how much time they had to prepare. It was just
Not
kind of
much time,
hurry
actually.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not much time because they should not become lazy and settle to a one place. That's the that's the Simeon behind it. I wonder, before they get comfortable for that particular place, they hear that sound of silver trumpets. Now go. You should be on move all the time in the wilderness. Since you can't do it all the time, God gives in His mercy some pauses So they settle and they move and they settle. If you consider entire breadth of 40 years, there's fairly continual basis. They're moving. It's a moving Israel. It's a marching Israel. Even though the camp comes in between two marchings, uh, focus is more on marching uh, in subsequent uh, chapters and episodes. Yes, Chris, go ahead, please.
Well, I was just thinking that one of the prime reasons I can imagine that they would have to move the camp. I mean, if you've ever camped, you realize that there's a lot of things you don't have. And you know, if you're in a tent, after a while things just get kind of unkempt and you know, packed down, and they were pouring blood on the ground, and you know, they had latrines. They probably had a whole bunch of hygiene related reasons to move to a fresh area. You know, just because you got a million plus people in one area, that's just a good reason to move them around to a fresh area. It's like anybody camping, you know, you stay there any length of time without any permanent structures, and now you're going to have some issues with, you know, health, etc. So I don't know if that's the reason, but I do know there are examples in the Bible where it talks about how they moved, you know, and it doesn't say how long it took them, but if you're moving that many people any distance, it's got to be like a week plus effort just to get to the new place and then reset things up, you know, in an orderly fashion. So, uh, no lack of stuff to do for sure. That was it.
That's a good point. Practical reason, perhaps. But the main paradigm is when God moves, you also move. When God does not move, you also do not move. So both ways, you're tightly attached to God in a spatial realm of space. You're spatially with your covenanted God or your invisible king in this vocabulary of army. When you have army and captains, God becomes king, invisible king. So, and the kingdom, it's a moving kingdom. So those are primary paradigms, but there could be practical reasons as you are uh, able to see. That's why we need multiple minds. Thank you. Appreciate, Chris. Any other insights, comments?
Well, not right now, but if I had another hour, then probably. No, it's a good study. It's great, a great springboard for, you know, more study. So thank you.
There are lots of things we can uh, see. There's a day journey and night journey. You have different challenges in the night journey compared to day journey. And in the desert, there are lots of snakes. God is supernaturally protecting them from snakes and scorpions.
Mhm.
Until they rebelled, God unleashed them.
Yeah.
Well, and if you like having new clothes, their clothes didn't wear out, right? So they had to wear the same clothes for 40 years.
Yeah.
But that's their fault.
Well, that's true, but they didn't wear out, so which is remarkable.
I know. Just imagine the shoes or the sandals of a little boy, and as he's growing up, the sandals also growing.
Hadn't thought of it. That's interesting. Sure.
I always thought the shoes would not wear out, but they would exchange shoes and try to find something that fit them
Right.
size.
Hand-me-downs. I like that. Yeah.
And God would deliberately bring them to some of the nations close by so that they can buy few things, certain things, which they
Yeah,
were.
they could trade. Yeah, they traded.
Yeah, there's so many things God does, uh, breaking the pattern, but they do not know the way. God will show the way, and they have to walk. That's another fundamental paradigm we see.
Yeah. They can't plan ahead. So
No,
is
you
that the
cannot,
same with
because you don't know the way. Somebody has to
yeah.
show you the way on a continual basis as long as you are in wilderness. This is all wilderness. Pretty.
So it's really the testing of their faith, but because they failed the first test.
Some of them.
Yeah, of course, Caleb and Joshua did not, but I mean, the rest failed. That's why they all died. They failed. If they didn't fail, they would enter the promised land.
Those are some interesting observations, just the two of those things that they had to follow God because they didn't know where they were going, and they had to rely on Him for everything. And that meant it increased their faith. There was evidence that He was faithful. So those are interesting parallels that come out of that example. I think those are parallels and examples that we can use today.
True. And besides that, it was the children who became faithful and everyone else died off.
Yeah, right. The old generation couldn't give up, the hardness of their hearts and their idolatry. They just couldn't give it up and change.
So it's even now, that's why the devil is trying to catch the children.
Yes, right.
Yeah, I think we experience when we keep the Sukkot in our temporary dwelling, realizing how it's supposed to symbolically show you how you need to rely on God for everything, which is what the Israelites had to do, as you mentioned, Chris. Totally rely on God. So we picture that when we do the Sukkot, the temporary dwelling, reminding us that we totally rely on God.
Yeah. Yep.
We will again fast forward for next presentation where they are ready to cross Jordan into promised land, and Moses blesses each of the tribes. So we again encounter these names as a set. So we'll do Moses' blessings on each of the tribes, and then we will wrap up with the layout again of Israelite tribes in Promised Land, now around Temple and Jerusalem. And then from after that, I'm planning to come back to the second house,
Looking forward to it.
God willing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exciting.
Now, I'm narrowing down only on these 12 names. Wherever I find 12 names, only
Mhm.
those items I'm picking up. If I take entire Israel,
Too big.
it will just be another series. So I
Yeah.
don't want to go there.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you
leave that up
again,
to us, right?
Tudor.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dugor.
You're welcome. So any other insights, comments before we wrap it up? Peggy, you can stop YouTube. Yeah, I think Miss Dave mentioned something like, as one who doesn't like shopping, it would be great to not have your clothes wear out. Ha 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 ha. You're welcome. So we'll wrap it up. I'll stop recording here and we'll resume next Tuesday.
Okay.